All right, y'all. What's going on? It's your boy Izzy Bake Oven. What's up, y'all? So today it's a little different. All right. Now, yeah, I used to hear ads run through my stuff for other people. All right. This is probably the first real time the ad is for me. All right. So PSA Prodigy Sport Advantage Stations has expanded far beyond just the podcast. It is now a writing service. All right. And at that, a ghostwriting service. So we do it anonymously and take care of your needs. All right. Homework assistant, product and profile descriptions, grant writing, resumes, cover letters, templates, books, ghostwriter book too. Anything you can think of, articles, all that good stuff. PSA the Ghostwriter Solution can do it. So go over to PSA thepodcast.com and you can see all the services there with all their descriptions. Okay, because I know I missed some. And also you can reach out to me at theprodigyperspective@gmail.com and we can take care of all of that for you too. Peace. Oh, hand tatting today. Y'all see that? Okay, bet. So I actually got to get. So I got the eagle. I don't know if I talked about this in the last episode. I think y'all saw like little glimpses, but I got the eagle. And I'm not gonna do my whole arm, but I'm definitely gonna go up a lot higher because like it's whole raw. Like look at it. Like what? How many people you know get eagles? Most people that get hand tats are animals that usually be like lions and tigers and bears. Maybe not a bear. Oh, a gorilla. You know how be when dudes be on under each other pictures and they be putting a gorilla in a black heart? It be like that. So them the typical tattoos people be getting. Um, episode 3, season 7, we on the roll. This is my third episode in a row wearing a hat. I know you're probably thinking when you getting a cut, look, around recording times, it just ain't been working that way. But I'm gonna get it together though. But I'm the fitting. I want us to work today. So I got the little color block polo, throwback classic hat on, and I got the DBZ Hypeland shirt on. So we're doing. I'm drinking some. I ain't got my mug today. I'm drinking AHA sparkling water like lime and watermelon. It tastes like a bunch of nothing with some fizz in it, but it's cool. It ain't. It's all right. All right, y'all. So let's get into today's episode. So today's episode is centered around something I actually haven't talked about. Learned this term recently, and I want to use it, and it makes sense. And as we get into that episode, you're gonna kind of see like, okay, that makes sense, and you might even be like, this is me, right? So the meme for today reads, it's a long one. Don't worry, your beloved team isn't the only one with a talent for choking under pressure. It's a universal sport. So right now, I'm making light of sometimes when we get under pressure and we may choke or we may struggle. Sometimes it happens, and people only think as athletes the list goes on, and we're gonna get into that as episode goes along. But today's episode is centered around mental performance and performance anxiety. Okay, you may have been in the choir in school, you may be the best singer in the group, and then when it's time for your solo, you start cracking and you get nervous. Performance anxiety is a real thing, so we're gonna get into that a little later. Inspirations for this week, not that many. So my guest is definitely inspiration for this week in this topic. But also I got Romans 12:2, which is the process of renewing your mind, and Philippians 4:8, which is talking about guarding your thoughts, which I think that's imperative because if your thoughts are guarded and you really conscious of what you're allowing to come into your brain, what you're allowing to exit, I think that will come out your mouth at least. I think that you'll have better time when it comes to, handling situations, handling how you mentally handle situations. Because a lot of times what people realize, you could be the best athlete, you could be the best person physically fit, whatever. But mentally, if you ain't all the way there, it can throw some stuff off. So now let's move into my favorite segment. I think this is my new favorite segment, Happy Hour. All right. So today, for my slight rant, I got to bring up a few things. So the first thing is I went ahead now y'all know I do my definitions, right? But for today, I went ahead and I'm gonna do one early. So I wanted to define performance. So let's look that up real quick. Okay, now I have a few definitions, but here's the one that really stands out for what we're talking about. So the definition, it says the action or process of carrying out or accomplishing an action, task, or function. So now, what does performance mean to me? So again, when we think of performance, we think of somebody, an athlete. We think of a musician. We think of Rihanna's Super Bowl, which people had a lot to say about that. But when I think of performance, I think of just accomplishing whatever task you have and staying true to that. One thing that gets on my nerves is, so y'all know I'm an educator. And one year I had a student and I had like a dance contest I was doing with the kids. So I had one boy killing it. He used to be Millie rocking and he used to be dancing and back flipping. He was the best dancer in the school. So y'all, we get to the talent show. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get this because he a killer, he a killer. We get to the talent show, but he chokes. He was doing like he was barely moving, doing like some little two steps and like looking from side to side and like doing some little claps. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like I'm telling y'all, this dude was a monster. So I was kind of irritated. Luckily, we had the one girl come through. She was the worst acting girl in the school, but she loved dancing like Michael Jackson. And for whatever reason, that calmed her down. So she kind of came in last minute clutch, and then we won. But I had high hopes for I ain't gonna say his real name, so I'm gonna call him Oscar. I had high hopes for Oscar. Oscar let me down, but it's okay because we still won. But here's the thing when I think of performance too. Have you ever seen a situation or been in a situation where somebody was going in on somebody or talking bad about somebody or, something in their ballpark? And then when it's time to bring up the situation, they start doing the infamous phrase, they start backpedaling. Now all of a sudden they don't remember saying that. They didn't say it like this. This is what they meant when they said that. That's one of my biggest pet peeves because I just feel like own what you said, own what you did, even like with athletics, even with sports, even with anything with a performance of any kind, because that's still a performance to me. Own it. If you messed up, own it. If you got nervous, own it, but don't backpedal because then that's going to make me look at you a different way. Have I ever been in a situation where I backpedal before? Yeah, but it's been a very long time. My logic is if I did something wild or said something wild and I'm being, nailed to the cross for it, my logic is, the jig is up. Just own what happened. You know what I mean? And people may not verbally tell you, but they respect you. Even if they don't say it, they respect you. Now, did a lot of rambling. I know y'all enjoy happy hour, but I got a guest today, y'all. We're coming out the gate with some fire this season. So let me go ahead and introduce my guest. All right. My boy, what's going on?
I'm doing really, really well, Mr. Baker. Thanks for having me on today's show, sir.
Yes, sir. So of course, obviously visually on YouTube they can see, but for my audio people, tell the people what's your name, where you're from, and where do you live now?
Absolutely. My name is Jamal Hill. I'm from Inglewood, California, and I'm still holding it down in the city of Angels.
All right. So now for those that don't know, tell them what you do.
I'm a Team USA Paralympic swimmer and founder of the Swim Uphill Foundation, where we teach 1 million people around the world how to swim every year of all ages.
Okay, now you see we in sync because you already going into my next question. So my next question was your Swim Uphill Foundation aims to teach 1 million students how to swim annually by the fall of 2028. Can you share with us more about this initiative and why it's important to you?
Absolutely, man. Well, number one thing is that, again, that's 1 million people annually. So we do it primarily through licensing, through education. We teach about 1,000 people on the ground, where I'm in the pool with them every year. Outside of that, we have partners, national YMCAs, international learn to swim organizations and nonprofits that use our curriculum, which allows students to learn how to swim, whether they are adult or child, without needing to have access for a pool. Right. So a lot of those barriers that keep people from learning how to swim, like fear of water, lack of access to a pool, lack of money and time, maybe lack of a professional coach or platform, pretty much solves all of those major barriers. So anyone can learn how to swim.
Okay. Now, fun fact, I used to be a lifeguard in 2016. It was only for one summer. I barely passed the test, but I passed it. And I was happy because that was my last summer before I graduated college. And I remember they had me posted up at this one spot because I live in Houston. So this was out way in the suburbs. But like when I tell you the pool only went to 5 feet, like people rarely came. So I was really chilling. The test was the hardest part. And I remember, I can say this now because it's been years. So The actual swimming part, I barely passed that too. But the written part, I had almost didn't pass. And I watched them tell this girl, they told her, they was like, you didn't pass the test, so you'll have to come back to the next session. No, sir. I barely passed that swim test. So I said, no, I'm not doing that. So I ain't gonna lie, I cheated. I was like on my phone, on and not the swimming part, y'all, the written part. And so I had took pictures of it and I had like went back and I came back and then one lady, I know how to get the eyes off of me. So she was like, you're not looking at your phone with for the answers. I said, man, it's almost 5 o'clock. I am starving. They all fell out laughing. I said, good, keep laughing while I do this. I said, so then I did that and boom, I was the lifeguard. I actually, did I save somebody? No, I didn't save somebody. I almost thought I had to, but she got her life together, so I ain't have to do it.
Okay.
Quick little story. Not
No, I
to
love that, dude. I love that, man. Well, that's something that we have in common. I won't say that I almost didn't pass my test, but I will say that I was a lifeguard for 10 years. And when I first went, it was my first job. When I first went to do it, probably all about the egg beater kick, to do the saves on people, right?
right.
I have a special form of neuropathy, but at that time I was living in a closet surrounding my disability. And so I wasn't able to do an egg beater kick. My legs aren't able to whip like that because of my neuropathy. So it was an uphill battle for sure, man. So listen, salute. I'm glad you were able to misdirect and ultimately be in a position to potentially save someone's life. So well done, community service. I love it.
All right, so I'm about to ask you a few words and phrases, and then I want you to tell me no right or wrong answer. The first thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
Get at me.
All right, when you hear the word or the phrase mental health, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
A brain working out.
When you hear the phrase mental performance, what comes to mind?
A brain racing.
When you hear the phrase performance anxiety, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
A brain biting its fingernails.
And what about when you hear the phrase decision fatigue?
Decision fatigue?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's like a brain just like sweating, kind of melting in the corner somewhere. Tired.
For sure, tired. All right, so mental health, a person's condition with regards to their psychological and emotional well-being. Mental performance refers to the internal conscious and subconscious activities that enable external success. And then performance anxiety, extreme nervousness experienced before or during participation activity taking place in front of an audience. And then decision fatigue, uh, difficulty in making a good decision experienced as a result of the number of decisions one needs to make. And I forgot, and I got another word I'm defined. I went ahead and defined choke, which is to make someone speechless with a strong feeling or emotion. So, of course, when we think of choke, you think of, but in this case, choke, like I used earlier,
Right.
when people like get the frog in your throat or something happen and you just freeze up.
Yes, sir. Yep.
All right. So now let's move into the next segment. What does this have to do with mental health? So now at this point, can you share with me or share with us what it was like to be diagnosed with how do you pronounce it? I don't want to say it wrong.
Charcot-Marie-Tooth.
Charcot-Marie-Tooth at such a
Yes,
young
sir.
age and how it affected your passion for swimming.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one, man, not me, but there's a growing, I'm not saying not me, I didn't start this, but there's a growing sect out there that is moving to change the name of Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease to Hill's disease.
Oh,
Uh, hey, man, listen, make sure you vote, cast the right vote.
wow.
But in all seriousness, it's CMT for short, Charcot-Marie-Tooth, the name of 3 French scientists. It's a neurological disease. It affects your peripheral nerves. So for me, that means from my elbows to my fingertips, I have about 30% nerve capacity, so I can feel things run into my hands. But I would never text in bed with the phone over my face, or I try not to keep too much glassware around the house because I drop things. My tactile ability is not very high. And then from my knees to the soles of my feet, I have 0% nerve capacity. So it feels like my knees are my feet and my legs are stilts. And I'm always balancing on top of them. So that's some pretty cool imagery. When we talk about what it meant or what it was like being diagnosed, I was diagnosed as a child at 10 years old. I'll tell you, it was a hell of an experience. But I think the most valuable aspect, when I'm able to kind of to quantify and qualify it, is I have my parents there. And as we talk about mental health, and really what is holistic health of an individual. You can never forget the right people are their experiences in so many ways, and those experiences are shared with other people. So having parents there who are older, wiser, showed me nothing there, anything other than love and belief and confidence. Uh, it made it more than bearable. Honestly, it was kind of just it was crazy, right? Because I had a period
Right.
of time where I was paralyzed, and it changed my life forever. But I won't say that it wasn't dramatically traumatic because of the people that I had surrounding me during that time.
Well, that's good. It's always good for people, anybody really to have a support system. And a lot of times people have to do things by themselves. So it's good that you had that because, I mean, and I definitely believe that it should be called Hill's disease. I've never even heard of that. So,
Okay.
so in my mind, it's Hill's disease because I had
It's
never,
Hill's disease now. There it is. It's Hill's disease.
it's Hill's disease. The Izzy Baker here at PSA decided that it is not Hill's disease. We ain't got to vote. We ain't got to call nobody. We decided that. Okay, so mental performance. So we briefly touched on that. Now we're moving more into that. So it says mental performance can be closely tied to mental health, as individuals with good mental health often perform better in various areas of their lives. It says a survey by the American Psychological Association found that stress can be caused by work can have negative effects on job performance, including decreased productivity and increased absenteeism. Anybody knows, no, I don't go to work. So they know I'm always finding a way. Like I literally will wake up. No, here's what I do. This is how I plan it. So, like, say for instance,
Are
today.
you about to tell us how you get out of going to work? You want to? What if your boss watches this? You want? You sure you want?
And by the time they see this, it's what Drake say. By the time you see this, it's too late.
Okay, fair
So,
enough. All right, brother.
but listen. So I really don't sneak out. All I'm saying is I'm just going over my thought process. So, like, if
Okay,
it's
okay.
Wednesday, right? I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I'm gonna not go Friday. I'm gonna try to go the closest to where I can have the most consecutive days of a break. Now, there's
Yeah,
been some days where it's been a Tuesday, and I'll be like, I'm feeling it, and I'll maybe like I'm not gonna go, but I try to do it that way. That way, I have more days off.
that's smart.
Th-
Smart. I
Then,
like that. Turn it into a 3-day week.
for sure. And then next week, spring break, so I'm really chilling, but So then it
Okay.
says, according to a study published in the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology, employees with high levels of well-being were found to be more engaged and productive at work, resulting in better job performance and fewer sick days. So, with that, why do you think people struggle with their overall well-being in today's society? And then I got another question after that.
Why do people struggle with the overall well-being in today's society? Very loaded question. I think it ultimately comes down to morals and values. There's an absence of morals and values in today's society. There's a lot of what I would just call uh, fake humanity. Whether that be from what we see through the media or what we see in our communities, honestly. Um, and yeah, that absence of foundational values like integrity, of self worth, of self respect, of not being willing to just do anything for a dollar, wanting to help your neighbor. One of my favorite quotes, especially kind of once I started to go pro and establish my career, is what is it benefit a man to gain the world but lose himself, right? So that's what's going on with today's world. We got more than we know what to do with, but no solid ground to stand on.
Man, look, you preaching today, but for real, I think that with that, and we tied into mental performance, like, do you think that when it comes to that, because like I said, I'm gonna get into a few more examples because again, it's not just limited to sports. As we
Mhm.
see, it's limited to work as well. And I'm a firm believer. I don't see the point of going to work and not doing, like, you know what I'm saying? You're
Yeah,
there, like, oh, I got my day, but you're not doing that. You just like, I might as well
yeah,
just stay at home.
yeah.
So have you ever had a day where you had a game, not a game, a game, where you ever had a situation where it was one of your, one of your
That's
events,
with me.
yeah, and you said, I ain't feeling this. Like, have you ever get been to that point? Like, I ain't feeling this today. Like, you tried to shake
Um,
it.
I mean, I would say maybe not exactly for a swim meet, that exact experience, but I'm an entrepreneur 100%. You know, I work just like anyone else. I'm a hustler, right? We don't know. I don't just get to sit in this chair and wait for Izzy's show to come out, you know, every week, every month to eat. So, you know, that's definitely an experience all of us share. It's like, yeah, we all got to get up and we got to get to something every day, whatever that is. I hope it fulfills you, but we got to get to something. So 100%. Yeah, there are days where like I'm not feeling it today, and there are times within that where it's like I'm displaying maybe a lack of grit. I may be displaying, you know, some type of lack of focus or concentration. But then there are other times where what I'm actually doing is displaying an awareness of self. You know, I'm displaying what is a positive mental health experience, right? And knowing when I need to take a break, knowing when I need to recalibrate, knowing when the system has beat me down a little too much and I need to just step away in order to endure. So yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword.
It's funny you said all that because it leads into the next statistic. It says a study published in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine found that mental factors such as self-confidence, anxiety, and motivation were significant predicators of an athletic performance in young athletes. Another study published in the International Journal of Sports Physiology and Performance found that mental fatigue can lead to decreased physical performance in endurance athletes. And again, it's kind of a piggyback off what we were just saying, that, you know, when you're not in it mentally, you're not, it's very few people who can not mentally be there and then produce. And even if they produce something, it still ain't what they could do. And it's not just sports. This is, you know, like he said, super entrepreneur. You can be entrepreneur of the world. You know, you can be, you know, a teacher. You can be a student, you know, in college, in high school, whatever, and you just not there. So what do you feel about sports adapting like a mental health day?
Sports adapting a mental health, and what, you know, sports is, that would be like, what do we all think about education adapting a mental health day, right? I don't, who governs all of education? I don't know. What do you mean by that?
Just having a day, which colleges have started to do this for
Okay.
sure, where they have a day out the, not every week, but like every so often throughout the semester, they'll say, a Monday, September 9th is a mental health day, so no work or assignments will be done that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I wonder if do you think we'll move into a society where that'll be a thing for everywhere?
yeah. I mean, I think that I would say this. I think that we know for a fact, just like through American industry, right, how workday has been established, right? It's been established in a very specific way over the last century, since the
Right.
Industrial Revolution, the 5 and 2 system, and before that, they were pretty much all indentured servants, right? And now we've graduated a level of indentured servitude. So I mean, yeah, no matter what industry you're in, especially, you know, if we're speaking to athletes, we're speaking to teachers, speaking to chefs, entrepreneurs, business owners, who cares, whatever, uh, you need rest. I will say that when we talk about mental fatigue, most people that I know are overworked. Whether they're overpaid or underpaid, I know for a fact they are overworked.
For sure.
And my favorite thing is, you know, especially amongst entrepreneurs, athletes are a little bit better about it because they know about performance. But then even when we come and talk about teachers, when we talk about people who maybe have a lot of ambition or who are very passionate and want to deliver so much of themselves to their audience, uh, there's this notion they're like, right, sleep is the enemy.
Right.
And my thing is like, look, sleep is so important that I'm definitely, I'm a faithful guy. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. Religion, spirit, it's all in the same mix. But like, sleep is so important. It was made by God, and it's
Right. He
like,
rested.
after that, I mean, well, he rested or not, who cares? It is, show me a person who can go an extended period of time without rest. You can't do it. It's, you know, it's crucial to life. It literally is rest and rejuvenation. That's how you clear out mental fatigue. Um, a lot of depressed people, why do they sleep so much? Now I don't have a healthy sheet of stats there to run down, but it's like a lot of that sleep is coming from lack, right? There's such a large deficit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't be able to be sustained, no matter how you're feeling. So that's just food for thought, man. part of having a healthy mind, having a healthy mental framework, and having a healthy body is having a healthy sleep relationship.
Absolutely. Have you ever suffered from performance anxiety or choking?
Yeah, for sure. I suffer from performance anxiety. Um, and what's funny is I didn't even think that I was anxious. I would say like the last real time I suffered from performance anxiety was around 2020, right after the pandemic. The later part of 2020, swim meets in the state of California shut down. So me and my team, we had to travel to Utah. And so we had a traveling team. We go to this meet in Utah, and I'm working from the Airbnb, and we're going to swim in between sessions and things like that. And I'm at this meet, and it's like an age group meet. It's the high schoolers, some college students. I'm on Team USA at the time. I'm the only Paralympic athlete at the meet, and I'm wearing the swim cap with my name and my flag on it, right? So I'm in my own head a little bit. Like, when you put on that flag, not many people get the honor wearing that cap. So you want to perform well, right?
Right.
And I'm there. One of my teammates, after a swim, it's not that good. She comes over and she says, "Hey, Jamal, I think, you always feel so confident and I've never seen you at a competition before. I just assumed like, you're always like that, but you look nervous over there." And I told her, "What? No way, dude. I'm not nervous. You must not know. Like, what are you talking about?" And she starts describing to me my body language that she was witnessing from across the pool. And I don't know a lot about a lot. I know a little about a little. I'm like, wow, that does sound like the body language of somebody who was anxious and somebody who was nervous. And then I sat back and I thought about it. And I said, you know what? I might actually be nervous. Funny thing, I haven't even brushed my teeth in 2 days. And that's really just how, like, I think, and this really goes to athletes, because a lot of them, especially at the higher level, they have that A-type personality, is like there comes with it a level of disillusion, right? Even though you're experiencing stress, even though you're experiencing mental fatigue, even though you're experiencing full-on anxiety, like if you saw it on camera, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that person's bugging a little bit." In the moment, first person, it doesn't register. So that was really transformational for me, just to be able to say like, "Wow, yeah, Jamal gets nervous," right? And ultimately, when those nerves become uncontrollable, is when it turns into anxiety, right?
No, good stuff. I remember when I used to play sports back in the day. Crazy was this is 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 11 years ago now. But
There we
I
go.
remember
Put
like
10 on it.
you said what?
I said put 10 on it plus one.
Right, now for sure. I remember, like I said, my daddy would always tell me, like, you definitely in practices, you be good, and your tapes is good. And then your games, just like I would just be in my head. And of course, like I said, y'all, I literally just learned the term performance anxiety from somebody who just got diagnosed with it the other day. So, and this is 2023. And so I'm thinking that makes sense because I knew it was some type of anxiety, but I didn't know there was a name attached to it. I'm like, that makes so much sense why I could just never prosper. I just couldn't do it. I was so shook up because of stuff that had happened. So it was just hard for me to just get over it. And of course, now had I known about all this stuff then, but it's fine because it wasn't meant to be, which is fine with me.
No, I mean, I'll say this though, and this is a popular, unpopular, potentially controversial opinion.
Let's do it.
But it would just be this, man. Like, have you ever met anyone who went to the doctor and got diagnosed with happiness?
No.
Okay. Have you ever met anyone that went to the doctor and got diagnosed with excitedness or something like that? Okay, so I just say this to say a little bit like, again, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a doctor, so take this with a grain of salt. But from my perspective, we're talking about emotions here. We're talking about very natural human experiences. Performance anxiety is something that everyone has experienced in some capacity in their life, whether that was stage fright, whether that was going to talk to a new girl that you never met before, whether that was going and asking for a raise, whether that was like things that felt uncomfortable to do and that you feel like you did not do the best like that. What is you're anxious about a performance? And so I just said not, again, I don't know anything about being diagnosed with performance anxiety, But I'm like, I never been diagnosed with happiness. I never been diagnosed. Like, it's just an experience. It comes with it, you know. And unless you're able to acknowledge it, unless you're able to acknowledge it, and then I guess that does serve a purpose. You know, it makes it challenging to be able to live with it and accept it. It's like, oh, this is just a part of the human experience, and I can
Right.
learn to adapt to this, just like I adapt gravity, right? Like, you're being diagnosed with experiencing too much gravity. You know, like you got an exceptional gravity. That's what they used to call larger people back in the day. You're diagnosed with an exceptional gravitational pull. You know, so
I used to hate that so much as a big dude. Like, I hated when people used to say you big bone. Like I said earlier with the conversation, like I said, y'all, with the conversation during happy hour, I said, even though that's not by that technical definition, that is a performance. If you do something, say something, own it. Me, I used to be, yeah, I'm fat. I never was like, oh, I'm big bone, or oh, I'm just, got the no, just say you fat, own it. People will respect you more if you a hoe, own it. Whatever you do, just own it.
I
Because
get,
then that way people can be like, okay, they like I said earlier, they're not gonna verbally tell you, but they respect you because it's like you honest. And everybody respects honesty. And that's just how it is. Like,
yep.
so then it says performance anxiety can be common experience for many people, kind of like what he just said. And this comes from a statistic, y'all. He didn't even know that.
I didn't
But
even know
it's
that.
including young millennials who may be struggling with making healthy decisions. According to Anxiety and Depression Association of America, anxiety disorders are the most common mental health disorders in the United States, affecting over 40 million adults, or about 80% of the population. Performance anxiety specifically can affect individuals in a variety of situations, including public speaking, athletic competition, or academic tests. In fact, a study published in a Journal of Anxiety Disorders found that over 90% of college students reported experiencing test anxiety at some point during their academic career. Therefore, understanding how to manage and improve mental performance can be crucial for young millennials who are struggling with performance anxiety in their decision making processes. So, again, you feel lost, you think you're the only one, you are not. It just goes to show you right there, taking a test. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't even know that, and this is a whole statistic with it. So maybe he know a little more than he thought he did. All right. So you went from being told that your arm might need to be amputated to becoming a Paralympic medalist.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about the journey of regaining your mobility and then becoming a competitive swimmer? Competitive swimmer.
Yeah, absolutely. The journey for me regaining my mobility is still going on to this day. You know, to this day. That's what.
The TikTok.
Yo, shout out to Deontay Wilder, man. I did his wife's podcast recently. Well, she's her own woman, right? I did Telly Talks show recently, and I got a chance to meet Deontay via FaceTime, and I didn't hit him with it when I was on the phone, but till this day,
Did you have performance anxiety?
nah, it would have been a little corny. That was it. Yeah, it just would have been a little corny. But no, cool dude. But I said that to say pretty much, you know, what that journey was like. Is that journey is still going on, right? And it's with anything. So the disease that I have is progressive, right? It's meant to get worse as I get older. So what does that mean? That means that I have to like actively decide to get better as I get older. Um, yeah. So for me, I think the biggest thing is, especially as it ties into this subject, would just be a mindset. It will be a paradigm, and that paradigm is as old as wisdom is, and that's I control what I can control, and I have faith in all that I can. Right. So that's really it, man. I take a very direct approach to my movement, to my health, to adapting, to being open to change, and all the things within that I do have the power to achieve, right? Especially when it comes
Right.
to my mental health and how I think. But beyond that ain't none of my business. I can only do my part, you know, and whatever's gonna happen out of that is gonna happen out of that. So that's what I would share with anybody that's looking to overcome anything or regain any type of skill or talent, or potentially gain a new skill or talent.
Okay. All right. So now let's move into the other newer segment. I challenged that. So again, it's still fairly new segment, but in this segment, I'm challenging kind of what we're talking about thus far. So It's challenging mental performance refers to tasks or activities that require a high level of cognitive effort and concentration. It says these tasks typically involve problem solving, critical thinking, and decision making, and other complex mental processes, right? So, with all that information, we talked about mental performance, we talked about performance anxiety thus far. If we challenging that, what if you're just lazy?
This is what I tell people, man. When I go to a prime example, whether I'm going to talk to kids, going to talk to adults, it doesn't matter. Brother Izzy, you ever seen a homeless person?
Absolutely.
You have, right? Okay. Well, would you ever just want to trade places with a homeless person?
No.
No. Okay. And we, everybody's situation different, so this is not general, but we could definitely agree that, you know, people who are kind of maybe in that situation, they don't necessarily have the same responsibilities that a lot of us have, right? That we consider to be burdens, right? Like
Right.
bills and this, right? So it's like in terms of responsibility, they just kind of got to eat and drink every day, right? Maybe, right? So we say that, right? Do you think that homeless people live easy lives?
No.
No, right? So, so this is the thing, right? No matter what you decide to do in this world, it's not about to be easy. It's not going to be easy. We just said with zero responsibilities in this world, if you were living on the street, not only would nobody want to trade places with you, but we also are very aware that it's probably still a very difficult and challenging life, because life is difficult and challenging, and that's part of what makes it so enjoyable. So I say that to say life is hard no matter what. Time is going to pass no matter what. If you want to be lazy and just sit on the couch and let time pass and, experience life's difficulties, and do you want to end up on the street with life difficulties, or you want to end up on your mom's sofa with life's difficulties, or maybe you want to end up with your wife and kid in your own home with life's difficulties. Whatever you want, every man and woman has to choose that for themselves. We just need to be aware that there is no easy route. There is no route without challenge. There is no route without struggle. There is no route where you're never, up against a problem or situation that you need to think through for the best result. There's no avoiding that.
Good answer. All right. So now let's move into the next segment, which is the weekly sabbatical.
Okay.
And obviously, we know this is our time of reflection. So before I get into one of my reflection questions, I gotta be a little petty. Why don't you think black folks know how to swim?
You're gonna have to play a video clip of me saying that, because I've never said that. You got to play. Call the producer, tell him to play the clip right now.
Why do you think that? Because I know how to swim. Clearly, you know how to swim. But how do we get that stereotype?
Got you. Okay, that's an important distinction. For clarity, Jamal Hill does not think that black people do not know how to swim.
I know how to swim, so I know I can. So but it's just
why is it a stereotype?
Why do you think that's a stereotype?
Oh, 100%. There's obviously a level of truth to all stereotypes, right?
Exactly.
Like the stereotype that black people like watermelon, right? That's a stereotype, but it's a pejorative stereotype. I love watermelon. I know lots of people who love watermelon. People who have good relationships with fruit understand that watermelon is one of the most water-soluble fruits, great for the body's electricity there is, right? So then why would it be derogatory to say that a black person likes watermelon? It's because the story that has been cultivated around that in order to degrade what is ultimately a very natural and empowering human experience. So we just take that exact same logic, because that's the exact same logic that was applied and used against us as black people can't swim, black people don't swim. Throughout history, we take it back even as late as the 1300s. Coastal regions of Africa and many cultures throughout the Caribbean, which have since experienced genocide at the hands of colonialism and imperialism. These were the best swimmers in the world. They were the ones by the water. These were the fishermen. These were the pearl divers. These were the shark wrestlers. These were the even as we come into the Americas and we just address the ugly truth of the transatlantic slave trade, most of the 13 colonies' waterways and systems were navigated and ultimately managed by what were at that time African American enslaved peoples against their will. Right, it's important to add all that into it. So you just take that pretty much. Again, we see it all the time. This infrastructure has been built, and then it comes to a place where now we're in a place in society where, you know what, actually swimming is going to be a privilege. So for it to be a privilege, we must then we must sever the ties and relationships of ultimately non-white Anglo-Saxon Protestant citizens of these United States, so that they feel special and they can have this experience and everyone else cannot. So you take that, you add in discrimination, you add in segregation, you add in misappropriation of funds, you add in slavery, you add in indentured servitude, you add in redlining, you add in literally civil rights infringements on parts of cities and counties around the nation that didn't allow people of color into swimming facilities and to partake in aquatic education. That's how you end up with such an ugly stereotype that in a lot of ways, again, it's not true. Obviously, Black people are not a monolith. However, Black people, brown people in general, do drown at a much higher rate. That was a lot, man. They might need to run that one back. I low-key just dropped a little bomb on them.
No, that's going to be a clip I use to promote that.
All right, there we go.
Because I didn't expect all that. I just expected a little quick banter, quick laugh, like, nah, you dropped the
I'm a fun guy, but it's like, you know, you talk about rich shit, you got to be real about it, right? People need to be educated.
Absolutely. So now, how did your experiences with CMT shape your strategies for reaching goals and living out your dreams?
Oh, I learned very early in life that it's about adaptation, right? The most adaptable are the ones who survive, are the ones who progress. It's those who are rigid, who do live in a box, who have very static mindsets that are easily broken, right? We see it. I'm from Southern California, babe. We got palm trees. Listen, that palm tree, the head will hit the flow before the roots come out the ground, right? So you got to be adaptable. You got to be able to bend. You got to be malleable. And you got to also learn to work with what you've got, right? I was put into a position. I had entire use of my body at one point, and now I feel like I can only use about 75% of what I once had. Well, as much as I want to, I don't know how to turn back time. I don't know how to exactly change that. So how can I still live an exceedingly well and appropriate, deserving quality of life with what I now have? And you know, what's beautiful is people have been doing it since the dawn of time. Animals have been doing it since the dawn of time. It's natural. It's a very natural intelligence. So yeah, if we can just manage to get out of our own head and get out of our own way and stop putting all these, you know, really frightening limitations on ourselves and our abilities, oh boy, I'm sure a lot more people would experience miracles in their lives.
I'm telling you, you just drop them. Just drop.
I'm warmed up now, bro. I'm warmed up.
Now, you work with mental performance coach and swim consultant Wilma Wong. Can you tell us more about the role of mental performance coaching in your training and how it has contributed to your success?
Yeah, number one, shout out to Wilma Wong. When we talk about relationships, Wilma Wong was the first person that I ever came out of that proverbial, you know, disability closet to. The first one that I ever shared my disability with after 12 years of living in secrecy, living in shame. So one big thing is I had coaches throughout that entire dozen years. But that relationship had matured to a space to where I felt trusting enough to share that. So that's one thing that I think just cannot be ever undervalued, is having people around you that you know you can open up the most intimate parts of you. No one is perfect. Wilma, she knows I love her, and we be going head to head. We be butting heads, you know, but that's relationships, and that comes with everything. In addition to that, though, all good.
No, I was just saying absolutely.
Oh, bet. And outside of that, though, really what her job as mental performance coach and how that plays into my training is she's our resident biohacker and researcher, right? So all things optimization. You know, when we say mental can be broken down into so many facets. from a neurological perspective, right? Everything that we do is really an electric signal, right? Our brain has sent a signal in an instant. Oh boy, excuse me so much. I thought that was on silent. Our brain and every neurological signal makes things fire. So her thing is always about ultimately optimizing those connections, right? How can we recover in less time? How can I maximize my diet? How can I put my body, my mind, and my spirit in its most optimal state to give me the best performance? So that's really what mental performance coaching is about. There's a lot of imagination, there's a lot of visualization, and ultimately there's a lot of application. So there we go. Shout out to you, Wilma Wong. Great question, Izzy Baker.
I appreciate you. So now earlier we kind of throughout the episode weaved in and out, talked about who was affected by performance anxiety, and of course, we talked about athletes. We talked about teachers. We talked about students. There's more. So people leave out medical professionals. Like I would be terrified if I had to do brain surgery on somebody. Military people, soldiers, pilots, special forces, law enforcement, police officers, FBI agents and detectives, sales and marketing, finance, technology, healthcare, therapists, counselors, and workers. So, and social workers, excuse me. So, yeah, you might get in here and be like, okay. And even with my stuff, sometimes, like, I'd be like, I hope this lesson good enough. Like when I was teaching, I hope this lesson gonna be good. I hope it's gonna be, it's gonna hit. It's gonna do what I need it to do. As they say, give what it's supposed to give. Even with the episodes, I go in a little anxiety, like, I hope this, I get it, and I hope they feel comfortable. I hope I ask all the questions. I hope we don't butt heads. Out of all my episodes, I've had 180 something episodes. All of them don't have guests of interviews, but most of them do. It was only one I've had where we just didn't click, and I'm sure as I continue to rise, it'll be more, but only one. So that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I agree.
Now, so as always, we give y'all some scenarios on how to overcome certain things, and this comes from with statistics, and it's 4 ways to overcome performance anxiety from foreverfitscience.com. It relates to sports from the website, but these things are practical and you can take into in all these aspects that was listed. So I'm gonna name them, give some descriptions, and then my boy Mr. Hill is gonna let me know whether or not he agree with that or like, maybe he might have something to add to it. So you ready? Basically, there we go. I like that. All right. So the first one is relaxation training. It says you can learn proper breathing techniques as well, how to let go of negative thoughts and focus on being in the moment, which is key for enhanced performance, even a few minutes per day or an extended period of time. He got the thumbs up. Thought shopping. This is the process of stopping a negative thought in its tracks and replacing it with a positive one. And watch this. It says, for example, let's say that there's a competitive swimmer who has heightened anxiety because they are going up against a swimmer who beat them multiple times in the last competition. When they start thinking, I don't want to race, they'll already be beat like last time. They train themselves to dismiss the thought as soon as they notice it, replacing it with a positive thought such as, this is my race today. In between. Why are you in between?
The only thing I will add to it is I don't think it's extreme enough. I don't think you stop doubt. I think you murder doubt. You annihilate doubt. When I have doubting thoughts in my mind, I like to think that they're these big red 3D letters. Like it might be like, I don't know, like I'm nervous, might be big red 3D letters. And then all these thoughts are coming at me and I'm just there, Kill Bill. I got a samurai sword. And it gets bloody. It gets real bloody. All the doubt is just spilled all over everywhere. So, after the murder scene, man, I don't, I guess naturally, maybe I kind of bring in a positive thought, but I just want it to be silent, right? Like sometimes I just want to be in the experience, and doubt is a lot louder, right? It's like the unsuccessful people are usually a lot louder than the successful people because they got to make you believe in the thing that they haven't done. So once that doubt gets murdered, you need to enjoy the silence and then just go ahead and deliver.
For sure. All right. It says the third one is labeling. Labeling is getting the person to recognize certain thoughts and feelings so that the negative ones can be associated with a positive outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely has a place, to just be present with your thoughts. I would give that a thumbs up.
And then the final one, deep breathing. These can help the athlete or whoever relax with decrease stress and anxiety. Deep breathing needs. to be practiced over time for it to work effectively. It can increase levels of oxygen in the blood and aid the working muscles. All right, so good stuff. Now, what advice do you have for young millennials who suffer from decision fatigue and seek to make life just a little easier?
Yeah, make less decisions.
You said make less decisions?
Yeah, make less decisions. Most people put too much energy into making a bunch of dumb decisions every day. They split their time between making unnecessary dumb decisions and worrying about future decisions that they're going to have to make. And by the time they finish doing both of those, nothing has really been accomplished, and they're tired. So, Jeff Bezos, whether you think this or that about him, he does have one interesting quote, and he says, ultimately, as the chief, executive, whatever, founder of Amazon, at most, I'm making 4 important decisions a day. That's how important the decisions I make are, right?
Right.
Like, everything, whether you brush your teeth or not, at this point in your life, should not be a decision. You just do it, right? So you got to think, right? So, like, that's simple, right? So, like, it doesn't stop there. There should be other things, like from scheduling to this to that. There are other ways that you integrate into your life where it's like, you don't need to be trying to make 100 decisions every day. That's a good way to be real tired. And again, quite frankly, that just means that you're not prioritizing. And you're probably putting a lot of focus on things that are, quite frankly, pretty inconsequential, not only to the betterment of your own life, but the betterment of society. So got to nip that in the bud.
All right, I love to see it. All right, so now let's move into the final segment of the day. This is game time. This game is called the grand finale. So I'm just gonna ask you a few questions. This game is kind of like a this or that, and I want you to tell me, basically, kind of a test, kind of a summary of everything we went over, and just kind of tell me which one of this one or that one. All right, you ready?
Ready.
All right. So, would you rather have a swim meet in Hong Kong or a swim meet in Paris?
Paris, 2024. Make sure you guys come and visit me then. My dream just came true.
Oh wow! Well, this is breaking news. Okay, we breaking news on PSA. This is the second breaking news we didn't got.
Breaking news. Paralympians 2024, baby. Come and see Jamal Hill representing Team USA. And shoot, if you come, I'll give you a swim lesson.
Okay, bet. All right. Would you rather have to coach a group of 4-year-olds or a group of 84-year-olds?
What is it?
A group of 4-year-olds or a group of 84-year-olds?
What am I doing with them?
Swim.
Oh, swimming? I would. That's a real tough one. I just got to give you both answers, man. In terms of my personal preference, like what I would enjoy more will be the group of 84-year-olds, just because they've gone 84 years and they still don't know how to swim. That's about to be a life-changing experience. Like it's really going to be evident. However, the 4-year-olds are definitely most in need. Drowning is the leading cause of childhood mortality under 5 years old. So when we just talk about these youth have an opportunity to grow, to be successful, to in a lot of places move out of poverty and become adults and support families, obviously we got to take care of the youth.
All right. Performance anxiety during a local meet versus performance anxiety during the Olympics. I did not know he was going, y'all. So that's crazy.
Oh, so I went in Tokyo.
I knew that, but I'm just saying I knew he was going again.
I'm still it's on my trajectory. Step number 1 is make the team, right? So I still got to make the team, but yeah, it's a goal, 100%. I say that to say, of course, I want to have anxiety at the local meet. Like that's usually the problem with local meets. You don't get anxious enough. I wish I had more anxiety at local meets.
Okay. All right, so that's all my game time for the day. Now let's move into the question of the challenge. All right, he did pretty good with that. And this is just for y'all. Remember, y'all, 3 people can win when we do it at the end of the month. All right, one person $10, one person $15, another person $20. So 3 people can win. How has your mental performance been at your place of work? Now, again, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you actually have a job, your place of work. And what are some ways in which you can make this better or keep it constant? So if it's good, If it's good, then how you want to keep it like that. And if you want to make it better, how you think you can make it better with some of the stuff we went over today. Now, final thoughts. Anything you want to leave off with and let the people know?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can follow me, Jamal Hill, at Swim Uphill on Instagram. That's the absolute best platform to connect with me. You can also connect with me, Jamal J. Hill, on LinkedIn. You can see I'm wearing this shirt. I don't wear anything by chance. Shout out to our sponsor that got me on the show with Izzy today. So grateful to Golden Road Brewery of Southern California. I am an official Golden Road Brewery spokesperson. And that mission to teach 1 million people around the year, there's 1 million people. So it includes not only children, but adults. So make sure you stay tuned for our newest initiative from the Swim Uphill Foundation in partnership with Golden Road Brewery called Adult Swim, which the name is in the title, right? We're going to be teaching adults how to swim, and then we're going to go get some brewskis after. That's it, man. Thank you for having me, Izzy.
All right, y'all. So there, thank you for coming through. Thank y'all for tuning in. This has been a good one. Learned a lot. All right. Definitely a lot of, that's always a goal to have the gyms, but some stuff I didn't even plan on a history lesson, and I used to be a history teacher. Okay. So PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are and make your mind up. Don't let it make you.